As we mentioned, we're getting ready to release our film Goodbye Promise. One thing that we wanted to do that we thought would kind of be fun is to incorporate a pitch video with the release. Just as another way to kind of draw attention to the thing. I think a lot of filmmakers and artists, they don't necessarily utilize video as much as they should. And so we just want to kind of pick your brains because we love the way you guys released your Kickstarter campaign for Dying to Do Letterman. And it was professional from day one all the way through the end, and just anything you can give us in terms of what we should be thinking about with the pitch video we may put together.
Well, I think number one, the most important thing is to start from a place of passion. I think I would not have had a successful Kickstarter campaign. We wouldn't have had a successful Kickstarter campaign if we weren't truly 100% passionate about the film, because your passion, I think, will come through in any type of promotion you do. Video, to me, seems like the biggest no-brainer of all time for filmmakers. But a lot of filmmakers, for whatever reason, either they're gun-shy about getting on camera, or they don't want to come off as, arrogant or pompous, or all the typical ways that people like to think of crazy filmmakers. The truth is, if you care enough about your project to sweat blood and tears to get it done, you should care enough to tell people why. And I think that if you start from a place of honesty and passion in however you're communicating, you'll already be ahead of the pack. I think the mistake that I see a lot of indie filmmakers make when they start making some sort of tape is that they'll try to maybe like ape or copy a different campaign that was successful. But that may be completely inappropriate for what it is they're doing, and more often than not, you watch a filmmaker and you go, "Who cares?" I don't care. And I bet you a lot of the filmmakers, when they watch that own tape, it probably doesn't move them. But I think if you start from a place of honesty and you create something that's as real as the movie you made in the first place, something as personal and cool and quirky and interesting as your own work, people are going to respond. And I mean, listen, I'm a big sap, but when I watch our Kickstarter video, I still tear up. And yes, part of it is because I have to admit that I look that goofy on camera, but part of it is because I really do it. The journey meant so much to us that it was impossible not to be passionate when we talked about it. So I think my first tip would be start from a place of honesty and passion.
What's your second tip?
I'm getting it in order.
Oh.
I know what it is. I know what my second tip is, but go ahead. I thought you might want to expand.
Expand on the passion? No, I absolutely agree. We're working with some filmmakers now who are doing a documentary called Journey Through Fire. And they actually came in, and one of the video things that they're doing, which I thought was really nice, is they're talking to different filmmakers and having them almost pitch the film, where, you know what I mean, what is it that inspired them about the film, or what is it that inspires them about the project, which I think, again, to the passion, that it's not just a filmmaker's passion, but to show that the film has inspired a passionate response in others, I think definitely helps in terms of having, testimonials, within the pitch video, which is not something we did. But I saw them doing it just recently.
We did different kinds of testimonials.
Right,
yeah.
But for them, it really. I mean, they're still in the editing process. They don't have their film finished yet. We saw rough cuts and little bits and pieces, and found out about the stories and all of that. But again, it's speaking to the passion. It's just, what's your passion? If I'm an audience member and you're the filmmaker, of course you're passionate about your project. But to see somebody else get passionate about your project who's not necessarily connected to it in any way, that's intriguing. And then I go, oh, what is in your project that sparks their passion? And that may also then spark mine.
And I think one idea that you're hitting on there that I do think is important, if you're lucky enough to have it, is social proof. Basically proof that there is a love of your project outside your own love. Because of course you love it, or you wouldn't have, spent all your money and all your time making it. We were so lucky that when we played our initial festivals, that we were not only winning, but we were getting standing ovations, and we brought cameras with us to the screenings in hopes of gathering some type of audience reaction. It far exceeded our expectations, but being able to to show people, look, our film is receiving one standing ovation after another, and people in the lobby are unable to contain themselves, and they're crying and talking about the film, and this is what real people are saying about the movie, I think lent a lot of credibility, and it also made people feel good about supporting the film, whether it was donating or watching or deciding to buy a ticket. It's like, well, there's other people in the world are being moved by this movie. That not only says to me that it's good, it also says to me this is something I want to be a part of. You know, am I missing out by not seeing this film? Is it, you know, would my life, you know, maybe be touched like that person's life was touched if I took the time to go see it? Or not all movies need to be touching. It could be a comedy. You know, am I going to have that much fun at the movies? You know, is it worth me going to escape for a few hours? So I do think that if you can hint at social proof in any kind of pitch you do for anything, just proving that there's a more universal, you know, attractiveness to your project, I do think that'll help. The next point that I think is really important, and I think this speaks to, again, it doesn't matter if you're making a movie, if you're selling widgets, you know, if you're trying to get booked to give speeches, whatever. I think you have to know your audience. You know, it's really important to know that audience and to speak to them. And I don't think that necessarily mean, a lot of people will go, oh, well, who's your audience? And then they'll automatically start breaking it down into demographics. I don't think that necessarily works as well for independent filmmakers. I mean, yes, it's important to know in general, you know, this movie is going to appeal to men more than women, or vice versa, but a lot of times indie filmmakers fall into this weird in-between place because we're making something that's different and it doesn't necessarily fit one specific mold. So I think you want to figure out how to appeal to certain pieces of everybody. I mean, I think we all have, you know, in the case of Dying to Do Letterman, I think we all have an underdog spirit. No matter who you are, no matter if you're a man or woman, no matter what age you are, all of us at some point in our lives have been the underdog or rooted for an underdog. And that was something we worked really hard to tap into when we reached out. And that was not only reflected in our video, which very clearly said, no one wanted us to make this movie, which was true. People said it, you know, it was a horrible idea to shoot the film. People thought we were crazy to invest our money in it. I mean, we were underdogs. Steve's story is a major underdog story. So by saying to people, you know, look, we're underdogs, be part of our underdog story, I think that helped them relate to the movie. I think if you can find something that's universal in your film and think of that as your demographic. What's my demographic? It's underdogs. We all have a little piece of the underdog in us. So in a way, it makes it easier to focus your message, like you're tapping into that essence, as opposed to I'm just going for the, you know, 18 to 39-year-old male, which probably, if you're an independent filmmaker, you probably don't fit a category quite so sharply, unless you set out to make a commercial film, which is a whole different business plan altogether. So,
one we applaud.
What's that?
One worth applause.
Oh, I listen. I think, yes. Well, that's a whole side note. I think, unfortunately, a lot of independent filmmakers get lumped into, well, you can only make one kind of movie, which is not true. An independent filmmaker is a person that goes and makes a movie with their own money because no one else will pay for it. You know, I think that if someone went out and they did their independent version of Armageddon, God bless them. I'd support them 100%. I do think there's a bias against, you know, young aspiring filmmakers who tend to make stuff that appeals to the masses as opposed to niche audiences. So for the record, I completely support anybody and applaud anybody who has the gumption to finish a movie. And if your movie happens to be Armageddon or a horror movie or a comedy, and it doesn't fit your typical, you know, festival model, I don't think people should care. I think you should be applauded for finishing your film in the first place. So that's a whole rant for another day.